Norman Osborn has vowed to keep the Spider-Man identity safe and secure for Peter Parker, while he completes his own important cosmic quest. Unfortunately, the rest of the Spider-Man family did not get the memo. What'll happen next? Well, we'll top to the pages of Amazing Spider-Man issue number 12 and find out together, shall we? So then, as we join the book, Norman Spider-Man is patrolling the streets of New York City, fighting crime the only way he knows how, which is unfortunately still pretty brutal in comparison to original Recipe Spider-Man. Norman has only been the wall crawler for a little bit now, and he's already managed to come to some very interesting conclusions. Mainly, being Spider-Man is really hard. Like, you not just have to fight crime, but you gotta be aware of what's going on the streets at all times. That's like so time-consuming, and people say they love you one minute and hate you the next. Geez, I spent years clinically insane as the Green Goblin. But Peter chose this life willingly? Wow, he really is a hero. How many times did the important people in his life see his diligence as neglect? Thankfully, I'm Norman Osborn, and even after my redemption tour, I still have no close loved ones to disappoint. Oh wow, that's actually really sad. And also probably another good indication as if we needed it as to why Norman was so quick to throw himself into the role of Spider-Man. Spider-Man is like literally the only thing he has. Now back over with Ben, he's still posing as Peter Parker over at Rand Industries. Now originally I had thought, how the hell could someone like Ben, who needed a whole science team backing him up during his last stint as Spider-Man for the Beyond Corporation, actually be able to impersonate Peter at work? And well, this issue actually goes a long way to explain that. Mainly, he's just kind of faking it, going with the flow and letting Brian do most of the hard work. Yep, this is Silicon Valley, alright. Of course, he can't talk a big game forever. Eventually, someone is gonna catch on that he's not the genuine Peter. In fact, Brian, dumb as he is already starting to get suspicious, as new Peter seems to have no interest in his shenanigans. Now, believe it or not, there actually is one part of Norman's life that actually does overlap with his work as Spider-Man, and that is of course his ongoing legal battle against Roderick Kingsley. Norman had assembled a team of high-paid lawyers to try and take Kingsley down after that whole tainted soda fiasco from the opening arc. Once again though, it would seem that the Hobgoblin has friends in high places, as Kingsley is actually able to beat the case fair and square. Despite the damning mountains of evidence, that stings enough for Norman, but Kingsley is sure to also really twist the knife in by saying that he's a washed-up old hack, a shadow of his former villainous self, and now the Hobgoblin will finally eclipse the Green Goblin once and for all. Surprisingly though, Kingsley doesn't take credit for attempting to assassinate Norman back in that Free Comic Book Day issue, meaning that there is something much else going on here. Now, after a day of suffering horrible losses, Norman decides the only way to cure his pain is by throwing himself into his work as Spider-Man. Okay, now you really are just like Peter. He vows to take the fight directly to the Hobgoblin's lair as Spider-Man, yet in his internal monologue he wonders to himself how Peter dealt with these feelings of upholding good and justice in his guise as Spider-Man, but often suffering such crushing defeats in his everyday life as Peter. In fact, he ends up kind of equating it to the pain and helplessness he felt as a child growing up being abused by his own father, or at least that's what it looks like at first. We'll double back to that in a minute. Norman's moment of dark self-reflection ends up getting interrupted by Miles and the rest of the assembled Spider-Man family. Well, a couple members of the Spider-Man family. We got Aranya here. I guess Jess was busy. They know full well that this darker, more brutal Spider-Man doing the rounds is a fake, and as such, they've come to get some answers and maybe whoop some ass if they need to. Norman tries to play it cool and concerned, saying that, hey, I'm not your enemy. I'm keeping the suit warm for Peter. I promise we're friends. I can't actually tell you who I am because, let's face it, I'm very ashamed of who I am, and if you knew who I was, you would probably just whoop my ass on principle alone, and I can't blame you for that. But, wheat cakes, yeah, that proves that I'm in good with the real Peter Parker. There's no way I would have known that if not, right? And you know what? That might actually have ended up working too if Miles didn't end up grabbing Norman's shoulder as he walked away. Again, he's all in his emotions right now. And apparently getting touched really ends up setting the old man off, who decides, you know what? I've made a career out of fighting Spider-Man. Let's fight a bunch of spider people. As far as I'm concerned, you're all just a bunch of derivatives of him. This should be easy, right? And for a second there, he actually does end up holding his own pretty well. There's also some appreciated web of life business too. Apparently Miles and the other spider people actually know for a fact that Peter is alive because, you know, they're all connected and they can feel him out there. For a second there, Norman is starting to feel himself too. Yeah, this is how you do it. This is how you get respect. You gotta be strong. You gotta be rough. You gotta pull no punches. And it's here we can see that flashback of that abused child. Yeah, that wasn't actually actually him. That was little Harry, and Norman was the one doing the abusing. Oh, would you look at that, Norman? Your bad guy is starting to show again. However, it's in the very next panel, though, he ends up getting crushed under about 10,000 pounds of poetic justice as he hears the voice of Gwen Stacy. Of course, it's not the real Gwen Stacy, not the one he killed that fateful night. It's actually Ghost Spider. Or is it still Spider-Gwen? I'm not sure what I'm actually supposed to call her anymore. And a nice bit of connective tissue with the Gold Goblin series. Norman is absolutely terrified at the idea of Gwen Stacy. He sees her as some sort of horrible, haunting ghost like out of a Dickens story. Arguably the worst thing he's ever done come back to torture him. And while he moves to defend himself in an act of pure reflex, slowly but surely it begins to dawn on him, oh my god, I am an adult beating up children. As if to say, I'm still an adult beating up children. I have not changed at all. Holy shit, I am the saddest person in existence. And you know what? When he finally does unmask and give up the whole game to Miles and the rest of the Spider people, they universally agree he is the saddest person ever. Like, too sad to even hit back. He says that Peter trusted him with his secret identity, that he thought it was good, that he was being good, he believed in him. And even though he literally already betrayed this newfound trust once before. Despite it all, Norman still wants to try. He still wants to try and keep going, and the Spider people agree to let him do it, but also let it be known that they're going to be watching him. Now, while the Spider people are ultimately pretty damn forgiving at the end of the day, Norman's other enemies, the ones who are shown to be wearing black cloaks and backing Roderick Kingsley, certainly aren't. In fact, they have funded Hobgoblin to build them a brand new state-of-the-art battle mech, which they hope to use against him to punish him for his past crimes. They also once again unite around that set of words we saw at the end of the previous issue, Sic Semper Monstrum, which of course means death to monsters if you don't speak Latin. And so that was Amazing Spider-Man issue number 12, everybody, and once again, I am pleasantly surprised with an issue of The Amazing Spider-Man. I know, it's a weird feeling, I don't trust it either, but here we are. Having Norman get his sins magically removed and break good in the first place was already a hell of a story beat to try out, but to actually keep him good, have him relapse into the Green Goblin, then come back and try and be good again is an even crazier creative feat, and yet weirdly I am super here for it. Norman has always been a super interesting villain, and this new good guy version of him, who is like the most self-hating sad guy in the entire universe who still gets up and tries to be Spider-Man anyway, that is so weirdly fascinating to me. It probably helps that they're writing Norman like an old alcoholic who's trying to get clean, who stumbled once before and is now trying to win back people's trust, but also the trust in himself. It also has this beautiful undercurrent of tragedy too, like even if Norman does manage to better himself as Spider-Man to learn what it means to be a hero, Peter is still gonna come back and he'll probably be crushed all over again. Speaking of Peter, I guess that's how the series is gonna work now. We're gonna get one Norman issue and then the next time it's going to be a Peter in space issue, which I don't know if that's gonna get annoying at some point, but it certainly won't be boring, that's for sure. Overall, I would actually give this one a 7.5 out of 10. I liked it way more than I thought I would.
Hey there everyone, it's your pal Cape Joel again, and if you're seeing my face right now, that means you watched to the end of the video, and I'll always be grateful for that. Retention helps in this crazy YouTube game, and so does becoming a patron. If you head on down to the description, you can find a link to my Patreon page. Recently just redid all the tiers, a lot of cool stuff offering up there, exclusive commentaries, exclusive polls, behind the scenes concept art for Capes and Quest, that's the brand new D&D show I've started soon. Never been a better time to become a patron. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month and help the channel grow and, help me continue to deliver content like what you just saw. So I want to thank you all, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.